Hello and welcome everyone to this Developing Cellular Products Using nRF Connect SDK webinar. My name is Björn Kvåle. I am your host today. I'm a product marketing engineer at Nordic Semiconductor. Just some quick practicalities before we get started. So the duration of the webinar will be approximately 60 minutes. So we'll do roughly 45-minute presentation and 15-minute Q&A. Questions are encouraged. Please type them in the top of the right sidebar. All of the questions are anonymous. Try to keep them relevant, and we'll answer the questions towards the end. The chat on the bottom right-hand side is not anonymous, so please don't use that for questions. If you have any more questions after the webinar is done, feel free to go to Nordic DevZone. That's devzone.nordicsemi.com if you do have any more questions. And last but not least, a recording of the webinar will be available together with the presentation at webinars.nordicsemi.com. I'll also provide, some more things like a data sheet, for example, for the sensor, etc. Okay, so just a quick agenda. So what I'll do is I'm using the nRF 9160 development kit together with a ENS210 temperature/humidity sensor. So basically what I'll show you how to do is how to go from getting started, so updating the modem firmware first off, then show you how to install nRF Connect SDK, show how to flash with nRF Connect for VS Code, also via command line interface. I'll also show the cloud client sample. So that's basically a sample where you push a button on the nRF 9160 DK and then a message appears on our cloud solution, nRF Cloud. So what we'll do then, we'll update that sample to actually send sensor data instead of a message to the cloud on the push of a button. We'll of course have to add a sensor for that, and for this I'm using the AMS ENS210 humidity temperature sensor, and that is the data is being fetched via I2C. And last but not least, if I have time, we'll take a quick look at how to get the sample to work on a custom board. So just some quick, helpful documents and tips. Of course, you need a nRF 9160 DK. Let me just get rid of all of these tabs quickly. Okay. Yeah, so if you don't have an nRF 9160 DK, you can press the Buy Now button. Ideally, you want the version 1.0.0 or newer. Older kits may require new cloud certificates. Also, if you're using a revision 1 of the nRF 9160 SiP, it might not work as well. So ideally you want version 1.0.0 of the kit. That's the one I'm testing with, but it should be able to work with older kits too. But I can't guarantee it'll work out of the box. You'll need a supported sensor. I'll talk a bit about that a bit later. SIM card. So hopefully the iBasis SIM card works in your region. Otherwise, you'll need a local SIM card. I'm testing on Windows, but of course this should also be able to work on Mac OS and Linux. You'll need a few jumper cables and a micro USB cable. So basically the goal of this webinar is to be general enough so that you are able to use this with newer versions of nRF Connect SDK and also other sensors. So if you don't want to use a temperature humidity sensor, you should be able to use other I2C based sensors with this. If you do, we also have a webinar on nRF Connect SDK version 1.9. That's the tag, that's sort of the version that I'll be using. And we also have some nRF Connect for VS Code video tutorials, which may be useful to look at. And yeah, I'll provide this PowerPoint as a PDF, so you'll be able to click on all of the links. So just quickly on the sensor. So it is an AMS ENS210 humidity temperature sensor. It's a part of the AMS Renaissance sensor board version 1.0. It's not that easy to find, the sensor board. I tried, I spent an hour or two trying to find it, couldn't find it. But for this one, I'm just using the ENS210. So I do have an alternative here on DigiKey. And I can just show you quickly. So they do have stock. If you look at the data sheet, it should be quite, well, we can actually look at this afterwards. But it should be able to, you should be able to use that sensor too if you, just an alternative. In general, I'm using the sensors API on Zephyr. So Zephyr is basically the real-time operating system that nRF Connect SDK uses. I won't go through a lot of the details there, but like I said, if you watch this nRF Connect SDK version 1.9 webinar, the first 15 minutes or so, it goes through more of the details there. So yeah, I'm using the sensors API as a part of Zephyr. And I think in general, the key thing is, if possible, try to use one of the supported sensor under sensor samples here. So you can see here, the ENS210 is supported here. You can see there are a lot of sensors supported here. So I would go with one of these sensors if possible. Otherwise, you can, of course, create your own drivers. But yeah, you'll have to spend a bit more time getting that to work. I also have a data sheet, which may be useful to take a look at. And I'll also bundle that data sheet or a similar data sheet in the zip file, which we'll have on our website once the webinar is done. Okay, so I think first things first, updating the nRF 9160 DK modem firmware. So I will show you how to do that now. Let me just turn on the kit quickly. Okay. Yep. So first off, nRF 9160 DK. What we want to do is here, you open up so if I go to nordicsemi.com/nrf 9160 DK. Here, so now we're here. If you go to downloads, we need to make sure that we are using that we flash the latest modem firmware onto the kit first. So like I said, we are going to be using nRF Connect SDK version 1.9 for this. I can just show you quickly here, just a few things to note. So some mobile network operators do require a specific version of the modem firmware. But in general, when you get started developing, it's a good idea just to use the latest modem firmware version. So if we go to this link here, we can actually see for the version of nRF Connect SDK which we're downloading, which is version 1.9.0, we need 1.3.1. So that's what we'll do first. We'll actually download version 1.3.1. You can see it here. You can see a few more notes here about the revision, etc. Changelog. This is actually quite useful. So the AT commands, it's a good idea to download the reference guide. So if you're a bit unsure about the AT commands and what they do, you can read through this guide here to see. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll download the zip file first. Okay, so that's downloaded. One thing I can also show you quickly is, so this is just pre-compiled application and modem firmware. We won't be using it now, but if you just want to test out the nRF 9160 DK quickly, without downloading nRF Connect SDK toolchain, etc., you can just download these samples, flash the hex file to your kit. It also includes the modem firmware, so you can also do this if you just want to test one of these 4 samples quickly. But for us, we're actually going to download the nRF Connect SDK. But first off, let's upload the modem firmware. So if I open nRF Connect for desktop, so that's actually a good point. Ideally, I should probably, yeah, I'll go to the nRF Connect SDK here. Yeah, if you haven't downloaded, we go to the Get Started here. You can see that you need the command line tools. So you need to download the command line tools from here. You can choose the version that you need. I already have the command line tools installed, so I don't need to do that. Just use the latest version. And we also need nRF Connect for desktop. So I already have it installed, but if you don't have it installed, go to downloads. Again, you can choose the version and just download the latest version of nRF Connect SDK. Okay, so now that we've downloaded nRF Connect SDK and also command line tools, so those two things are prerequisites for getting started, now we can update the modem firmware. So here, and if you don't, so right now, as of now, it's version 3.10.0 is the latest version. But if it's not the latest version, you will see a pop-up. So you should be able to update to the latest version via the pop-up too. So let us open up the programmer app. Again, if you're not using the latest version, you'll see this update button. So you want to update the app if it needs to be updated. You can also press update all apps here. Okay, so let's open up the programmer. Here we can see this. Make sure the nRF 9160DK, just plug in the USB cable, turn it on, and great. So now it's connected. You can see I'm using revision 2 of the nRF 9160 SiP. And now what we'll do is we'll actually add a file. And you can see I already found, yeah, you might need to browse for the modem firmware version. One thing to note is don't unzip the modem firmware. So just add the zip file. Zip file is selected. And then what we'll do is we will just press write. Okay, so that took 46 seconds. So that should be up to date now. So that is now we have the latest modem firmware. So now what we'll do is we will go to the next step, install nRF Connect SDK. So yeah, then we go back to this page. You can just go to nordicsemi.com nRF Connect SDK. Okay, now we're there. Press install and get started. Like I said, you should have already downloaded command line tools and nRF Connect for desktop. And then what you want to do, you just want to watch this video here. It basically goes through all of the steps. Seeing as we're a bit low on time, I've already done this. So then what you should do, you should open the toolchain manager. Again, make sure you're using the latest version of the toolchain manager. And as you can see, version 1.9.0 has been installed. Again, if you haven't installed it, you should see an install button like this, and that will help you go through that. One thing that is good to note is to try to make the install directory very close to the root directory. So like I've done here, C NCS, that is a good idea. And then I will just open up VS Code. I actually already have it open here. If you just press that, you should actually, let's close. That will not save. Okay. Let's close this. So I'll open up VS Code. Great. Actually, let's see to make sure we don't. Yeah, this is the main one here. Exactly. And yeah, like I said, if you want to watch any of the other tutorial videos, feel free to do so. You can find all of those tutorial videos here on how to get started with nRF Connect SDK and also nRF Connect for VS Code. So nRF Connect SDK is our SDK that we use for the nRF 9160 DK, and nRF Connect for VS Code is our preferred ID to be used together with nRF Connect SDK. It's basically a VS Code extension. So now that we're here, you should see this screen here. What you need to make sure is that the quick setup, let's get rid of that, quick setup, this should point to the path where you installed nRF Connect SDK, and same here for the toolchain. That is important. So that looks good. And now what we'll do, we will actually just get started. So what we'll do is we'll create a new application from sample. We'll do freestanding. This looks good. Toolchain looks good too. So that location, I've just basically put it under here. So I have NCS, and I just put it somewhere separate from version 190. So that means I can basically keep all of my apps here, and some of them maybe, I can use different tags of nRF Connect SDK for the different apps if I wish to do so. So this is the cloud client test. This is the one we'll actually use. But let me just delete that quickly, seeing as we're doing it again. Okay, so that's the application location. The template we'll be using is the cloud client. Just need to, there. So that's this one. This is kind of cool. You can actually see the documentation, and we'll actually be using this documentation. So I'll open it up. And then we'll select this. And what we'll do then is we'll just create an application. And now we should see that it created a folder under my apps. Okay, we just called it cloud client now. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So this is where these folders are located, basically. Okay, so next up, what we'll do, I'll just go through just quickly the documentation. So basically what this sample does is you want to make sure it's set up with nRF Cloud. What it will do is it will connect nRF Cloud, and then on the push of a button, it will publish this message to the cloud. And then on the cloud, you should be able to see this Hello Internet of Things message. That is basically what it does as of right now. So I think what we can do is if we go to, first off, you want to use the nRF Connect. You want to open up the nRF Connect SDK view. What we want to do first is add a build configuration for the cloud client sample. So the thing to note is we want the NS board. So it already popped up now. NS stands for non-secure, and it basically sets up ARM trust zone using secure and non-secure partitions. And the reason for that is you want to it's for security purposes. So you want to keep all of the vital things in the secure part of Flash, and then you put the rest of the application in the non-secure part of Flash. We'll use the regular project configuration file here, no extra CMake arguments, and the build directory, we'll just call it build. So now we'll press build configuration. That might take a bit of time. Okay, great. So now we are done building. So what we'll do now is we've added the build configuration. Now what we'll do is we'll actually just try to build this and connect to the cloud. we'll do, yeah, I'll show you about pristine build and build. But for right now, we will just erase and flash the kit. Okay, great. So now what we'll actually do, now it's actually built. Well, we flashed it to the board. And what we'll do now is we will actually open up nRF Cloud and basically just do these steps, right? Yeah, okay. So we'll go to nrfcloud.com. I'm actually already logged in. Let me just log out quickly. Yeah, so either if you don't have an account, just register. Otherwise, I already have an account, so I'm going to log in. Okay. Great. Yeah, so I'll actually have to, we'll actually open up, go back to nRF Connect for desktop. We'll open up the LT Link monitor. Okay, we'll select our device. And now we can actually see, give it a bit of time. It's actually, so what I'll do, I'll press the reset button. No, wait, there it is. Cloud event connecting. Okay, it's some kind of error there. Okay, so now we have the cloud event pair request. That is what we want to see. And now what we can do, we can press the plus button here. We'll go to LT device. If you have not activated your SIM card yet, give the SIM ICC ID and the PUC code and press this, activate the SIM card. I've already activated, so I'll skip this step. One more thing to note is if you go to nordicsemi.com/ibasis, we can actually see down here, if you download this coverage spreadsheet, here you can see the different, where the SIM card has been tested. So if you have issues with connecting, maybe check out this page and see if there actually is LTM connectivity. It might be that you need to switch to narrowband IoT, for example, or worst case, you might need to get a local SIM card, IoT SIM card that has connectivity in your region. If you have any questions about that, either get in touch with your local regional sales manager or local support, so your local FAE, or check on Nordic Dev Zone. Okay, so now we're here. My SIM card is already registered, so I'll skip, but you'll probably have to activate. Now I'll provide the device ID, which is just nRF dash, and then you should see the IMEI on the back of the kit. And it should be, for the newer kits, it should be a pin. If you have an older kit, it will be a hardware ID most likely. Okay, great. So now we'll add the device. Like I said, if you have an older kit, you might actually need to you might need to upload a new cloud certificate. That's actually shown how to do here. So if you go back to the nRF 9160 DK product page, go to get started, watch this video here, and the beginning shows you how to update the cloud certificates. Okay, but now that is done, good. So now we are actually connected to the cloud. We should see this too. I think it reset itself. Cloud event ready. That is what we are looking for. If we go back to the documentation quickly, you can see that you should wait for this cloud event ready. And then what we can do is we can press button 1 on the nRF 9160 DK, and that should publish that message. Now if we go back to nRF Cloud, for some reason you need to press it one more time, but now we can actually see the Hello Internet of Things. So I'll press the button one more time. Great. So now we've already got that working with one simple sample. Within 25 minutes, we've already got this the nRF 9160 DK connected to nRF Cloud, and we're good to go. Here on the link monitor, I forgot to say, you also see a bit more data here. So you can see the signal strength. You can see what bands are supported, the current band I'm using, the network. So I'm connected to Telenor network. You can see I'm using an iBasis SIM card, etc. And if you have any questions, about the AT commands here, I mentioned this AT commands sheet here. That shows you all of that. And it's also good to note in this document here, I can show you quickly. Let me see where it is. Yeah, so you can see the syntax here. So you can see actually, so this AT plus CGMI is supported on the following modem firmware versions. Right, so that's good to know. Okay, so now we've done this. Now what we'll actually do is we will turn off. It's always a good idea when you're doing this if you want to make changes, if you want to reconnect, or I guess reattach to the base station, always turn the modem off, because otherwise, worst case, the base station might actually throw your device off the network if it's trying to attach too many times in a short period, and then you'll have to wait, I think it was like 15 or 30 minutes before trying again. So it's always a good idea to just call the AT, not the ATC reg, ATC fun equal 4. That's a good idea to do it. Okay. So we're kind of running out of time, so I'll try to speed up a bit. So now what we're going to do is we will go. So now we'll add a sensor to the sample. So like I said, in our case, the good thing is in our case, we actually have a sample that already uses the ENS 210 temperature humidity sensor. So what we will do is, first off, I will actually show you how it is connected. So if I open up this is the datasheet for the sensor board that I have, but for now I'm just using this ENS 210 sensor. You can see, so what I need to do, I need to attach pin 1, 2, 3, and 5. Here you can see the header pins. So the ones I'm interested are 2, 3, 5, and 6. So 2 is the SDA, so that's the I2C for I2C. It's the serial data, and the SCL is a serial clock. So the SDA, I'm actually connecting to, let's see. So the SDA is pin 2, and that I am connecting to pin 30 on the nRF 9160 DK. So let me just show you that quickly, how that looks. Again, we don't have too much time. Okay, let's see. We go to the DK hardware description, hardware figures, there. Okay, so I'll go back here. So basically I'll go to VDD first. So VDD, that's pin 6 on the header, the, what's it called? The header pins. That one I need to connect to VDD on the nRF 9160 DK. So I need to connect that. I've connected to this VDD here. Okay, one thing to note is too, it expects 3.3 volts. So you want to put this VDD IO over from 1.8 volts to 3 volts. One thing to note there is it may degrade the LT-RF performance if there is a heavy load. I haven't noticed an issue there, but if you're using, sensors that require a lot of power, you might notice a bit decreased performance there. So that was VDD. Now next, so pin 2, so the SDA, I will actually connect to pin 30. So that is this one here, pin 30. The SCL, so that is pin 3. I've connected to pin 31 here. And last but not least, we have the ground pin, so pin 5 on the pin 5 here is attached. Pin 5 of the sensor is attached to ground, which is located here. Ground, yeah. So ground is here. Perfect. So there, we're good on that. So I've shown you how to do that. So now what I'll actually do is I will open up the sample. Okay, let's see. We'll add an existing application. Yeah, we'll just add an existing application. For now, go back to version 1.9, Zephyr, and it's under samples, sensor, and here if we search ENS, here, perfect. So that's the folder. I just want to select that folder. Okay, great. So now, not sure that worked. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So I'll have to press, I have to press add here, add applications, add folder as application, yeah. And we'll do that one more time. Samples, sensor, ENS 210, there. Great, okay, so now we can see the application folder here. It's actually, the build configuration has already been added. Normally you just need to add the build configuration again, but it seems this has already been done. Yeah, and now we can actually see if we go to the source files, sorry, the input, input files, we can see those. Also for the application, we can see the main file here. And basically what we need to do now is just copy all of this inside main that we need. Well, ideally, if I had the time, I would actually test this sample out first just to see that everything works. But seeing as we're a bit short on time, I will just go right to the example. So now we're back on the cloud client. We go to the main there, and I'll just copy everything down here. So we can basically see, so what this main file does, you basically set up the device here, you get the binding for the device, and then you check to make sure that the device name, that everything's set up properly. You can see there's a lot, most of the code is abstracted away, which is nice. Okay, so that was this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this while loop either. Not using that. Okay, we don't need this. Okie dokie. So now what I'll do is this, I will actually, all of this, I'll put a top. Okay, Zephyr H, that's already included before. This has not been included. This has not been included. Okay, that's good. And then, okay, let's just put it, here. And we'll just add some quick code. Okay, great. So now that is done. Now we'll go back down here and we'll put this, let's put the copyright to above here. Okay, back down. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to just put this, we'll actually put it right before we set up the cloud. We'll do the device binding. And we can actually see if, well, ideally what I'd like to do is just, test this out to make sure it works, but yeah, I actually don't have so much time. So I think instead of just checking this, I'll actually put this right where I want it to be. And so what I'll search for now is actually the button handler. You can see the button handler here. Go to definition. Here you can see the button handler, cloud update work. So this is when a button 1 has been pressed, this is a function that gets called. So now let's just find this, where that cloud update work is. There. So here's the cloud update work. And this is a message we normally see when we press the button. So what I'll actually do now is I'll put the code here so that every time we press the button, we fetch a sensor sample from the ENS210, and then we basically just print out that message. Yeah, again, seeing as I'm running out of time, ideally, I'd like to test this to make sure it works. I don't have too much time right now, so we'll actually go right to what I want to do, which is basically to, instead of printing this cloud config message, so instead of printing here, we're actually inside the kconfig file. So instead of printing this message, what I'm actually going to do, I am going to print out another message instead. Yeah, but so this is not really, this is just some code I'm copying. Yeah, just to make sure, basically just to make sure that the format is the same as the format here. And the reason why you want to do that is because then you can actually see an nRF cloud. Then, yeah, it looks like this. That's the main reason for that. So basically, that's all this code does, basically. So what it does is you're still getting the temperature and humidity, and then you have a string, and you're doing some string concatenation, etc. And that then becomes a message to the cloud. So then what I'll do is I'll just go like this, and I'll change the buffer, and I'll change the length. That's it. So that is basically all of the code that I've had to change. That should be the most of that. So that's the main code. For the project configuration code, let's see, I'll go back to this one. And here, if I go to the project configuration file, here you can see all of the, and yeah, if you want, so basically so I mentioned the kconfig before. That basically, so let me go back there quickly, just to show you quickly how that looks. So I'll go to the, yeah, okay, cloud backend. So if I just, here you can see this is the kconfig file. Yeah, and you can see this basically sets up, this basically defines the software, right? It defines the, it defines a lot of the features that I can use in the sample. You can actually also find the kconfig here. If you click down here, and here you can see in more of a GUI interface how it looks like. But yeah, so basically what the project configuration file does, if I go back to the ENS210, so here, project configuration, that basically defines, okay, which software features do we want to enable, right? In this case, I want I2C. I want to use the sensor, configure the sensor, and I also want to use this use this ENS210 sensor. So basically what I need to do is I need to copy that into the cloud client project configuration file. So this is the project config file for the cloud client. So now what I'll do is I'll just add it here, and I'll just say for ENS210 sensor. Okay, great. So we've done that. And so that is everything I need to do there. And now the last thing I need to do is basically the device tree. And device tree basically sets the hardware configuration. So right, you had kconfig and project config for the software configuration. For the hardware, that's where you have the device tree file for. So if I go back to the ENS210, here we can actually see there's an overlay file. And what an overlay file does is basically overwrites a part of the device tree file. So we'll actually overwrite a part of this DTS file there. So actually what I actually need this overlay. And what I'll do is I'll go back to the cloud client example. And here it says no overlay files, click to create one. So I'll actually create one. Great. So now, yeah. Okay. Perfect. So that is there. Okay. And now we can actually see, so we're using the Arduino I2C. Bitrate fast, that's actually 40,000 so 40 kilobit per second. Here we can see the register and also the label. If I go quickly back to the sensor board, we can actually see the slave address 0x43. That is this one here. And we can also see the bitrate. We're using the 400 kbps. That's this one here. And also status is okay, which basically means it is enabled. So now, there's a small pop-up there. Now I need to do a pristine build because I basically made, let me just save this too. So basically what I've done is I've made changes to both the DTS and the, so whenever you make a change to either the, let's say you add an overlay file, you make a change. You add an overlay file or you make a change to the project configuration file, then you have to do a pristine build. So I'll do a pristine build quickly. Okay, great. So now that is done. Now I'll actually do one more thing. I will check. So if I go here back to the Explorer, I can actually see all of the files. So if I go to Cloud Client, we created this build folder. So there's the build folder. If I go to Zephyr, let's see, Zephyr, and then I go to, I believe it's called, let's see where it is. Zephyr.dts. Yeah. So here's the Zephyr.dts. So this is the device tree file that's actually built. And now we should actually see, if we go to I2C, we can see the I2C2. So this is the one, if I go back to the overlay file, you can see this is what I've basically overwritten in the device tree. So I've added this Arduino I2C. And it's always a good idea, instead of changing the device tree file directly, it's always a good idea to create an overlay file. That's sort of the recommended way of doing this. So we can see here on the Arduino I2C2, we can see the status is okay. We can see the SDA pin. That was this is just hexadecimal for 30. This is the clock pin, SCL pin, that's 31. And we can see the address. So the slave address for the ENS210, that is 0x43. So great, so that is done. So now I've done the pristine build. I'll go back to nRF Connect SDK view. Now I will I'll actually I should be able to just do a flash. So I'll just flash that to the kit. Okay, so that is flashed to the kit now. If I go back to the link monitor, oh, great. So now it's already reset. It's already cloud event. So it's connected to the cloud. Pairing is done. It's ready. So now I should actually be able to, if I press a button here. Okay, so now, hey, great. See? So this, so now instead of publishing, the hello Internet of Things, I'm actually publishing the temperature and the humidity. And just to show you that I've not cheated, we can actually see the value does change a bit. What I can do quickly, well, actually, let's go to nRF Cloud first. See that actually, hey, great. Now we can actually see, so I'll press the button again. Now you can see that the message updated. So that is actually pretty cool. And just to show you that I'm not cheating, I'll actually just breathe quickly on the sensor and we should see that the humidity goes up quite drastically. So now we can see it's still 41, but now it's gone up to 71, 84, 88. Great. So yeah, so that was, I don't have too much time to show a lot else, but basically if I go, so I've already, yeah, so I think the last thing, now I've already showed you basically within, 40, 45 minutes, I've shown you how you can go from the nRF 9160 DK, add some extra functionality, add a sensor, and I've shown you how to basically, upload temperature and humidity to the cloud, to our nRF cloud on the push of a button. Unfortunately, I don't have any time to show you how to port the sample to a custom board, but what I can do is point to, if you just go to nRF Connect for VS Code, just Google that. We'll go to nordicsemi.com. Here we actually have a webinar, and I believe there is one part. Let me just check quickly. So if you go to part 46 minutes, so if we go to 46 minutes, there you can actually see. So from there, you can actually see how you can add a custom board instead. Yeah, and I recommend, to watch this entire webinar if you do have the time and you want to get started with nRF Connect for VS Code. So yeah, that is basically what I had today. So I think without further ado, yeah, if you want to, watch some more of our webinars, feel free to register for upcoming Nordic Tech webinars. Just go to nordicsemi.com/webinars. Before we go to the Q&A, I can actually just show you, if you go to webinars.nordicsemi.com, we do have a bunch of different webinars here. So, and they're high quality webinars. So if you want to learn more about cellular, or if you want to learn more about whatever, we have a webinar to suit your taste basically. So feel free to have a look there. So yeah, without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this webinar. And now we'll go to the Q&A.